As the first of a new wave of sustainably driven workspace buildings are delivered in Manchester, we spoke to some of the key parties involved to discuss the challenges in trying to ensure that these buildings operate as intended.
In order for the landlords to maintain their ratings, they need the occupiers to be doing exactly as they want them to do. Tenants are attracted by the ESG agenda, but they don't really understand what it means.
Reducing energy consumption or improving the efficiency of the buildings, reducing the use of water, reducing waste and recycling. Data sharing obviously allows you to monitor these things.
In order to secure funding, they have to disclose to certain levels, and that's going to require them to collect a lot of data. I think we're going to start to see the emergence of green clauses coming in, but over the next 5 or 6 years, they will significantly ramp up.
It's occupier driven, and quite often occupiers are specifying different problems. It was Booking.com, we did the Cat A, Cat B, and it was delivered to Shell, so we did save quite a lot there, and it was fitted out purposely for them. We didn't install any Cat A at the start, and we didn't have to move anything, we didn't have to strip anything out. But on the flip side of things, Dalton Place fully fitted it out, ceilings, lighting, tenant comes in, strips it all up. Just go for a BREEAM excellent, and then that just fell by the wayside.
The relationship and the discussion needs to take place between, developers, landlords, and prospective tenants is so important to ensure that we're not just ticking a box in the green agenda as, oh yes, this is great, fine, we got our certificate, but that we're actually working together to ensure that this is a genuine partnership.
On the base build, and tried to reduce the embodied carbon we were talking about, we've got a panelised system. We use really high quality materials, but effectively it's almost like a unitised system, the facade that's been built off-site. And we've got a really simple system that monitors the external conditions, and at certain times of the year will encourage the tenants to open the windows. We've basically smart enabled the building. All the systems talk to each other, so the BMS, the lifts, the lighting, the air conditioning, all open protocol. And in theory, if we had an occupier who had an app, they come in, they plug into the building, they've got a dashboard of their own occupational energy, almost in real time.
It was unacceptable to not put in a new raised floor, not very long ago, because, the agency community would say, you got to. That's moved on. And I think that, in fairness, has been driven by the occupiers. Design meeting rooms which could be taken apart and moved around easily. So it's really thinking about material efficiency.
There's very little, if any, speculative space coming forward from a new build point of view.
The rest of the legacy market that is going to have to find its way, first and foremost through market forces, and that because there is no regulation, to a point of acceptable environments for tenants to occupy, owners to own, buyers to buy. Most institutional investors and landlords have now gone through most of their portfolio and understand where their assets sit in terms of science-based targets, CREM and the operational energy. They put together what they need to do, the decarbonisation pathways and understand the measures, but they have no idea how to implement those plans. Because they have sitting tenants, they've got multi-tenanted buildings, leases not current, and how they start to phase through those improvement plans will be interesting. And the biggest discussion point is who's paying for it.
The power that it takes to reduce and what consumers are using is increasing. So we have to think about that when we're taking on new buildings.
The building's got an outstanding BREEAM, that can be quite restrictive. So there's that tension, isn't it, that occupiers want to go into these very highly rated buildings, but then it constrains what they can do when they're in them.
In Norway and Sweden, the landlord always does the fit out for the occupier. And what ends up happening is you basically have a standardized fit out, but actually it's a much more sustainable way of fitting buildings out. And when it comes to changing occupier, the landlord adjusts the fit out that they have installed rather than replace it. And I'm wondering if actually getting some kind of statute in place to help enable the standardization, I suppose, of green buildings and ensure that these synergies are happening between landlords and occupiers would be a good idea.
If you know you're going to get a hyper-tenant like Google or Facebook or Meta going in, they're going to strip everything out. So
only developers to shell and core. Whereas if you're going to have multi-let tenants and smaller tenants who don't have the budget or will to do these things, then make sure you're getting that Cat A to a very high standard and work with them on the Cat B.
So the data sharing is a really obvious one, and that is now absolutely standard. So then you've got the more aspirational things around cooperation, setting up sustainability groups, where they're about obviously trying to get the right behaviours. But in terms of things that actually cost money, that's where it gets really contentious.